العب. Yeah, man. Oh shit. But never changing my style. Agile.
Okay, that's a good intro to the fucking podcast.
Oh my god, man.
I think actually this sets us up perfectly for the podcast. This is basically where you and me kind of met each other in that fucking world, man. Anyways, Adib.
Yes.
Great to have you here, man.
Good to be here, man.
Fuck. So for those that didn't recognize the song, it's okay. It's an unreleased track. You heard it first here on the Duck It podcast. So Adib, also known as what's your rap star name?
Oh no, I don't know. Dibo, I don't know. Give me something cool.
Yeah. So some context. The song we just heard, there are no rights. We're all in the clear. But Dibo wrote the words to a song that we, like a rap that we wanted to release at Kareem. It was like 2016 or something, 2015.
Early days,
16.
man, yeah.
That's how far we go back. That basically means we've known each other for like 6-7 years, man. Holy shit.
Crazy times, man. Yeah, we were all green, all Kareem, you know. We were willing to do anything for that place.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
we did.
And we did. And it paid off.
Yeah, man. It's nice to see where it's become. So
yeah. So I wanted to talk to you. I wanted to have you on the show, and I think I told you this a bit kind of earlier. I feel like you're one of the few people in our community, in my network, in my friends, that can have a real conversation. And that's not to put weight on this conversation, like no pressure.
Pressure's on, yeah.
But I feel like you're one of the few people, I guess, in the Middle East who's ready to kind of be transparent, professionally, personally, etc. And I think that comes with maturity, that comes with time. I don't think that's something either of us would have probably done 6 years ago. I think we've grown into kind of who we've become, and we have lots of learnings and experience. But I think it's important that the region and people in the community start having real conversations about the ups, the downs, the extreme successes, and maybe the parts that kind of suck, right? And I just feel like you and me have had, you know, a journey that's kind of been in parallel. We've been in each other's world long enough, and maybe there are some things that you and me both feel is important to talk about, right? And I feel that's the objective of this podcast. So no real agenda, except let's just say how it is.
No,
right?
Look, I agree with that. I think a lot of people here, a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of people in the startup world feel they have a specific role they need to play.
Yeah.
And that comes with a specific character. So a lot of times you don't get the honest truth. And so people have this perspective of what the startup world is, how sexy it is and how cool it is. And they don't understand the real world behind it. They don't understand the pressure. They don't understand the burnout. They don't understand the stress. They don't understand, you know, the challenges and the sacrifices. It's funny. Somebody once told me, if you always tell the truth, you'll never have to remember what you ever said.
Yeah.
And when we're playing these roles, sometimes, you know, as a startup founder or as an executive within a startup, and we're creating all of these fancy stories, sometimes, man, these stories over time begin to crack.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's always been, look, this is who I am. You're going to get raw Dibo. You're going to get raw Adib in any office. I'm going to be emotional. I'm going to be loud. I'm going to laugh when I need to laugh. And I'm going to get upset when I need to get upset. And you're going to see my emotions on my face from halfway across the room. Yeah. You know, and everybody tells me, oh, you got to leave your emotions outside outside of the office. Yeah. Like, why? I'm sacrificing my entire life to help build this place. whether it was at Kareem, whether it's today at Sweetheart Kitchen, whether it's tomorrow anywhere else, I'm spending all this time, energy, brain power. Why can't I get emotional? Why can't I be me and express how I feel about everything that I'm doing?
And I think it goes a bit further than that. So I think it's like we have a lot of people that arguably would say that they actually do express, what they go through. But I think the part that we want to highlight is, yeah, there are a lot of kind of generally vocal people, but they tend to be overwhelmingly vocal on the positive, on the success. And I think that sets up, entrepreneurs or builders or people who just want to build careers. It gives the wrong perception of what's actually going to happen. You are going to fail, and you do have to fail, and it does have to feel like shit.
And you will many times.
Yeah. and I think that's an important conversation, and I hope you and me can have a conversation where we expose kind of these things on both sides. It's like, I'm going to do it too, by the way. I'm not going to just let you
look. I'm not
going to put the pressure on you.
I'm happy to talk about failures. I mean, I've failed, and failure, again, if you break it down, it doesn't have to be some grand big project that you worked on.
Yeah.
You could fail in a conversation that you've had.
Of dollars.
No, it could be a failure in a conversation that you had, in a deal that went sour, and how you responded to a situation because you let your ego get in the way, or you let your thoughts get in the way, or you overthought something. Or failure can be as small as you said the wrong word, or you misunderstood somebody's behavior, you weren't empathetic enough, you weren't sympathetic enough, whatever it is. So I mean, if we're not open to the idea that we are going to fail and that we do fail all the time, how do we learn? How do we grow? How do we become better?
And the idea is to share a bit of these learnings, and hopefully people will have more conversations amongst them, or even maybe publicly. Hopefully, that's the ambition.
Yeah.
That may this be the catalyst for people
all right.
having real talk. So,
cool.
All right. So on that note, biggest failure in the last couple of years. You could pick one.
Personal, professional.
I don't give a shit. Whatever.
Anything. Look, this is going to touch maybe a spot for me that's quite sensitive, but I think my biggest failure is in the relationship I had with my mother prior to her passing away. I think I got so caught up in my responsibility to be this entrepreneur, to be part of Kareem, to be part of this dream, that I sacrificed to a certain extent the relationship I had with my mom, who was battling cancer, so that I could give a big part of my life to a company that was defining who I was in the business world.
Yeah.
And that time it was Kareem. And so, for me, that was a big failure. That was me not spending enough time with her in Lebanon. That was me not traveling when I could have. That was me not calling her every day to tell her how much I loved her. That was me not being there when she passed away. I was here in Dubai and I wasn't by her side. And these are things that, while I don't have regrets per se, these are things that I believe that I failed in.
It's I've had this conversation a long time ago, but I think one thing that's like stood out, and I think marries this conversation really well, is as expats, so people who live in a country where they're not from, let's say essentially where they are almost alone with no family. As expats, there's something that we often forget, and I think with age we start to become more aware of, especially as our parents get older or certain family things happen. We, in a best case scenario, most expats will see their parents or families a couple times a year. Best case scenario, we'll fly back for the holidays, we'll fly back for a summer break or whatever. But on average, most expats, let's say in Dubai or the Gulf, will see their families, let's say once a year. And so if you fast forward 10 years, that means you'll see your family 10 times.
Yeah, in a decade.
Right? Like 10 times.
It's horrible.
And when you put it in such simple like terms, and you really kind of put a number to it, you kind of understand how missing out on one of those 10 times is enormous in the grand scheme of things. And so, yeah, you might go back for the summer and see your parents, or your brothers and sisters and cousins or whatever. You might see them, but they're not a part of your life on a day-to-day basis. And being an expat is a huge sacrifice. And I think, when you get older and you start to realize what's important in life, those things are kind of sticking out. And I think listening to you speak, I just wonder now, like, what's the learning? What do you change?
I don't know if and sometimes
you spend more time with your parents?
Sometimes maybe you can't change, or sometimes maybe you realize that it's okay. And, do you create your own family in this new place that you're in? I mean, is this why people in Dubai have such extravagant social lives? Because they're trying to
making up for
maybe
the gap.
replace or fill in the gap of the loneliness that they experience when they do come here and they do leave, their friends from school or their families or their loved ones behind. And so they're coming in to create a new family. A lot of people say, family is not defined by blood, but is defined by love. And can you not recreate that same love wherever you are?
Yeah.
I don't know. You're talking to somebody who's almost 40 and is still single and doesn't have his own family. But I tell you,
do your friends become
I have a
your
lot
family?
of friends here that become my family. They become the people I call to when, I'm down, or I need a hug, or I need somebody to speak to, or I need, to confide in my deepest, darkest with.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess, but I don't know if it solves for the fact that, we do come from communities. As a Lebanese, Lebanon was not a environment for me to be and to grow and to build and to become the person that I am today by choice, because I could have stayed and I could have taken any job and I could have become somebody completely different. But there's a part of our ambition that drives us to want to live elsewhere and build and grow and become this vision that makes their parents proud. And, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Now, I mean, going back, let's say we've known each other 5-6 years now.
Yeah.
I think we met originally because you were writing a piece for Entrepreneur, and then I remember Fida connected you to Mudassir, and Mudassir connected us together.
That's
I can't
right.
remember the exact series of events. But
That's right.
like that.
I wrote an article for Entrepreneur about Kareem and local businesses and how immediacy trumps loyalty. About just because you're a local brand, does not make you a better brand.
Yeah.
You need to become a better brand to build your business. Yeah, I remember that.
And arguably, I think we did as a brand. But I think my point is, you've always been expressing yourself.
Yeah.
As long as I've known you, at least, right?
Yeah.
So we met because you were expressing yourself. You're here today because I think you're going to express yourself. But many things have changed. So you've continuously kind of been talking about what's on your mind, right? And sometimes what's on your heart. But you've completely transformed how you think, how you see the world, how you kind of prioritize things in your life. Now, obviously, I think you've gone through some tough times, losing your mom and stuff, and there's been kind of a lot of change happening in the world with so many things happening. Can you talk through kind of this change and why this change is so important for you?
No, for sure. Look, I think it was triggered by the loss of my mom. I think that was step one. Step two, it was Corona. I spending a lot of time alone with my own thoughts.
Yep.
Went to Beirut to spend time with my father. Was hit with the Beirut explosion. I think that series of one, trauma after the other really pushed me into a very dark place. And I had some really dark thoughts, not just about myself, but around the world around me. I became very negative. Even the people closest to me didn't enjoy my company. And, sometimes they say you need to pass through the darkness to see the light. I needed to pass through that darkness. And when I woke up one day and I realized that I needed to make some changes, I was 140 kilos, which is the heaviest I've ever been. I was, eating really bad food. I was tired. I was lethargic all the time. I didn't have any energy. I'd walk into the office and be mopey, and I'm like, that's not who I am. That's not the Adib that has this energy, that needs to speak, that needs to be, that needs to live. And I went to Africa that March, early 2021, and I spent 10 days at the original Maasai lodge with the Maasai tribe. And I learned a lot about their culture, and I partook in some of their spiritual medicines. And I
What does that do?
it disconnects you from the day to day, and it allows you, or exposes you to your fears, your insecurities. It allows you to face your traumas and say, why was this traumatic for me? How did it make me feel? I think what it did was, whenever we face some adversary or difficulties, we try to run away from them. And maybe my approach early days was to run away from it. And when running away from it, I ran into a dark tunnel, and I got stuck and lost in this dark tunnel. And what this did was, it gave me a little bit of light that said, hey man, it's okay. It's okay to hurt. It's okay to grieve. It's okay to feel pain. It's okay to be human. We are human. We have emotions, and we respond to certain things in certain ways, and everybody responds to certain things differently. It's okay that you're in pain. It's okay that you're hurting. But now you have a responsibility, not only to yourself, but those around you, to get out of it and get better and be stronger and be healthier, and find your way, so to speak. Find yourself, the path out of this dark tunnel into brighter days, because that you owe that to yourself. You owe it to the people that love you. You owe it to your mother, who would have wanted that for you. I sat there. It's funny, towards the end of the trip, one of the Maasai tribe leaders, one of the chiefs, gave me, so they blessed us, and they gave me a blade of grass. And I'm like, why is he giving me a blade of grass? I'm like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
And the translator came and told me that this blade of grass is life for the Maasai. Without grass, they cannot grow crops. Without grass, they cannot herd their sheep, their cattle. That's how powerful and how simple their life was. Yeah. And I was here, a guy who'd just been out of a Kareem exit, made a little bit of money, who's in a cloud kitchen business that's doing relatively well, that's in Dubai, in one of the best cities in the world, pretty much has everything going for him, complaining about the world and complaining about life, where there's people around him with just that blade of grass that have the most positive, beautiful energy I had ever experienced. And I think that for me was the trigger point in saying, I need to change my life.
You know what's crazy in that? It's I hope what I'm about to say, a lot of people can admit to, because I've had this conversation with almost every entrepreneur I know. Like, if we know that what we want and what we kind of yearn for is the simplest things in life, why is it that we run after the most complicated, the most difficult, the most gruesome lives ever? Let me kind of explain that.
Ego?
Every entrepreneur I know, every single one, the one who just got started or the super successful, if you ask them, what do they want? What do they really, really want? Beyond, I want to IPO and I want to make a ton of money.
The simple life.
They all say, all I really want to do, this is a fucking marathon. I want to make a boatload of money. And when I make my boatload of money, I want to run away. And run away can be defined as open a farm somewhere, live a simple
And
life.
if you ask me, I'd say the same
or,
thing.
or me too.
Yeah.
Or it'd be I want to renovate and flip homes or develop homes, or I just want to be a fisher on Mykonos. Or
I want a boat,
right,
and a
right.
fishing rod, and
so,
I want to fish.
So it
every
seems
day.
like everyone
Yeah.
is walking through fire, giving themselves entirely, sacrificing body, mind, and soul, right, to eventually just go back to the simplest way of living, the simplest. And the reason I'm saying this is sometimes I wake up and I ask myself the question: is that because our generation, and our generation being millennials and everyone after, let's say, has our generation created a world so ugly that the ultimate success is making it to run away from the world that we're creating? Right? Like, oof. For me, straight up, Duck Life, No Bueno, all this shit, yes, I do want to change the world. Yes, I do want No Bueno to do amazing things for the planet. But fundamentally, at the end of the day, every entrepreneur I know, by the way, every VC that I know too, who's been open with me, says the dream is build a mountain of cash so that I can live the life that I want, which, by the way, is the simplest shit in the world. Okay. So what does that say about us, man? What does that say about every kind of...
I don't know, maybe we're lazy. I mean, the generation before us went through several wars to try to change the way and the world we live in.
Yeah.
But for us, we'd rather play the game, make the money we need to make, and disappear. Maybe that's a sense of laziness. Maybe we feel that the world is heading, it's too late and it's heading in a direction that is, instead of trying to oppose it or instead of trying to change it, try to make the most of it and try to take advantage of it and try to line our pockets where we can because we have the ability to, or the connections to, or the ideas to, where the rest of the world is walking blindly, uncertain or unaware of where we're actually heading as a human existence. I don't know.
But it just feels like,
it's funny because if you had asked me that question, I probably would have told you, yes, Sweetheart Kitchen, yes, Swap, yes, Own Share, yes, I'm part of all these projects. I want to make enough money so that I can switch off. Because this process of making money is exhausting. This process of waking up every day and having to play a role and having to play a part. And, it's almost like you're a little robot. And, you got to be in the office by 8, 9 o'clock. And you got to send 15, 20 emails today. And you have these milestones. When do you breathe? When do you enjoy the sea? When do you sit and bask in the sun and enjoy the rays and the heat and the beauty of the world that we live in? When can you walk barefoot on a grass field without getting a notification on your Apple Watch that...
But there are two things, right?
I don't know.
But there are two things, right? Like anyone,
or it's ego.
Rich or not, can go walk barefoot on a beach in a field of
I think maybe it's right? ego then.
It's just...
maybe there's a part of us that has to prove something to the people around them. And that's linked to our ego. Maybe I need to prove to Chris that I'm good enough. And so in order for me to be good enough, I need to be an entrepreneur because that's what everybody thinks is great, because we spend so much time, money, effort saying how great entrepreneurs are. So if I'm going to be great, then I need to be an entrepreneur too. And so I need to do X, Y, and Z, and I need to make money because then I'm the one who they're talking about in Forbes magazine. You don't have a newspaper that talks about the happiest farmer or the greatest fisherman or the most sensitive,
the best at nothing
charity worker. The best at nothing. You don't have that.
No, but
and maybe that plays to our ego as people. Maybe part of it is.
So I totally agree, but I'm wondering, our generation has done a few things that has made us measure the wrong things, right? So we live our lives looking at each other's pictures and videos.
How many likes they got?
And we watch. We say, man, Adib, fuck, man, he's killing it this weekend. He's on a boat. What a dude! He's killing it, right?
Yeah.
Chris is killing it. What? He's traveling all over the place.
But
You
they
look
don't,
so happy.
But they don't see you waking up in the morning with tears in your eyes before you get to that boat. You know?
No, but that's precisely the thing. So I feel like
So-
our generation,
Yeah.
we've created this world where everyone has to play a role,
Yeah.
right?
This
Because
online image.
everyone sees everybody's best moments, nobody's darkness, nobody's suffering, no one's sacrifice, right? And it just feels like that's precisely what we're running after, those moments, right? We're running after moment after moment after moment. We want to create those moments endlessly rather than trying to live the ones that are right there.
And now that we can't, and we've realized that many people can't, we're creating the ability for people to create those moments now on this metaverse. So for the majority of the population that will probably never make enough money to live the dream life they want to dream, we're telling them it's okay.
You get to have a world where you can pretend.
You can wear a pair of Oculus glasses and
you can pretend.
and you can pretend that you've made it in this new digital metaverse.
So everyone can be a
Yeah.
Tinder swindler.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I don't know when it started. I don't know why we need to play these roles and why we can't be ourselves and why I can't if I turn off my phone for 1 or 2 days, I get 100 messages. Are you okay?
But it's so
If I don't post online,
Wenak.
Wenak, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I didn't see you post anything yesterday. There's this constant need that we need to be present. We need to be visible. Out of sight, out of mind. Out of mind, out of relevance. Out of relevance, why am I existing today? We depend our existence on the approval of others, maybe. And it's linked to ego. I don't know, man. It's sad.
But another part of it, and I think I want to get your view on this. Like, I actually believe a lot of us live in a world of fear.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm specifically picking fear is if everyone we know, and everyone, at least I'll speak for the people that I know who've been open with me, if everyone I know who's made it or gonna make it or running after an exit or gonna make a boatload of money, if everyone's plan is to run away and live on a farm or on a boat or in some teepee somewhere and escape kind of the worlds that we live in, a part of me feels like maybe it's because we're so afraid of the world that we're in, right? And we're scared that we won't have a chance to live fulfilled lives. So it's like, make as much money as you can, as quickly as you can, so that you can eventually live the life that you want as quickly as you can because it all crumbles. Because let's look at like kind of the state of the world in the most macro ignorant way possible, right? So today, climate change, we're fucked. According to kind of, the point of no return, we've passed it, right? People bang on the table. Now we even create Netflix films about it, and we laugh, and it entertains us how stupid we are. We think about the economic system that we have, like the value of currency of our money. Like inflation's all-time high, our money is disappearing into thin air in terms of its worth. We think about, just basic cost of living is going through the roof. Every indicator that we have doesn't promise an exciting future on a macro level. Now that's a very dismal, negative view of the world, but generally, it kind of feels like everyone feels like, oh, we fucked up. We didn't make the right decisions. We had a chance to fix it, but we didn't. And so you know what? Let's run capitalism and consumerism to the end so we can all get the money that we want and we can all run away and live lives, on farms somewhere and just not have to deal or face the truth of the cities and communities that we've built and societies that we've built. It kind of feels like everyone's afraid. Everyone lives in this fear. Make money as quickly as you can so you can run away. To me, that's how I would summarize it.
Is it fear of missing out on the opportunity, or is it fear of understanding that from an objective perspective, we're heading into a very dark place on this planet where people don't have enough food to eat, where we're going to start killing each other for absolutely no reason. We're not going to be able to communicate with each other for absolutely no reason. And it's going to be complete apocalypse. And
I think it's for fear of not having a choice. I think what the pandemic brought along
but how
and accelerated.
But isn't that in itself fear of a choice? But it's a choice.
No, but fundamentally, I think people believe that if you make a ton of money, the only really freedom that it gives you is choice. So if I have, I don't know, $50 million in my bank account, I can choose where to live.
Yeah.
I can choose what to eat. I can choose basically
But
everything.
is that not a reality to a certain extent?
No, it's real. But I'm
Yeah.
saying I think people run after making boatloads of money so that they can have the choice, so that in the future they're not going to be stuck with the short end of the stick, right?
I get it.
You know what I mean? And I feel like that's what people are afraid of,
Hmm.
right? Because everything is kind of unstable at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you ask me to a certain extent, yeah, I can tell you I'm afraid of not being able to choose where I want to live when there's a time that comes and I need to make that choice. If I don't have enough money to travel, then I'm stuck in a place. And if something bad happens in that place, then something bad happens to me.
And so fuck it. Let me just make as much money as quickly as I can, no matter values, no matter purpose, no matter if it goes against what I stand for, but fuck it. It's me versus
As
the world.
opposed to me saying, no, I'm going to make this place a better place to prevent whatever that's going to happen.
Exactly. And that's what our parents did and what we're not doing.
I agree.
Podcast over. No, no, but
It's
fundamentally, don't you think that's a big defining
I think it's
characteristic
sad.
of our generation?
I think
That we don't
it
fix
is.
our own shit. We don't have the ability to make the right decisions
Or we don't want to.
consecutively. And we're just so selfish.
Yeah.
And maybe we're selfish because we live in a world where accountability doesn't matter because we live online. And what happens online can't get me in trouble, doesn't affect my life, but I can say and do whatever I want and I can play a
And
role.
I can be whoever I want to be.
Exactly. Rather than do what's right.
Yeah,
Fuck, man.
that's true. Oof. When you say it like that, it's not that we're just lazy, we're selfish.
Totally. And we're selfish not because we're mean people or
No.
because we're bad people. It's because we live in a world that is not real. Increasingly. Where it doesn't matter if you're right or wrong. Where it doesn't matter if you care or don't. Where it doesn't matter what your values are.
So then how do you
Because you're just playing a character online. No one's going to hold you accountable.
change that? How does me as a
Steve was
Dibo or
here.
you as
If Steve was here, he'd be laughing at me because he knows what my solution is. Unplug.
know?
Unplug. Because we all want to unplug. We're just too scared of it because our career depends on it.
or we spend $10,000 to go to a retreat to unplug.
Exactly.
You know, I went to Burning Man a few times, and people love Burning Man because all I can do for 2 weeks is unplug. I'm like, really? You're paying $10,000 to go live in an RV in harsh weather, in the heat of a desert, in the middle of nowhere, to unplug,
Yeah.
as opposed to just turning your phone off
Yeah.
and spending 5
It's
days in your
worse
room.
than that. It's worse. What I'm saying is
Oh,
today's entrepreneur is motivated subconsciously, unconsciously, by making it so big so that you can unplug. It's fucked
It's crazy.
because we can't be honest. We can't have these kinds of conversations. Everyone's going to show their trophies.
Yeah.
It's a world of trophies. I'm going to raise money so I can fucking tweet about it. I'm going to sell my company so I can be the hero because entrepreneurs are the glorified rock stars of our era. But every entrepreneur, everyone who makes it that I know, and I know it's not statistically, important because it's a
But we
Chris's
know a lot of
experience,
them.
But I know all of them. I speak to all the entrepreneurs that I know. Everyone's like, man, I can't wait. My
Switch
objective
off.
is, yes, I want to change the world. Yes, I want my product. Yes, I want my service to do good. But fundamentally, I'm doing this. Why? Because I want to be able to unplug. What did that say about what we're doing, man?
It says that we're lost and we're
mind blowing.
yeah, it says that we're lost and that as opposed to allowing our values and what we love and what we stand for to drive our decisions, we'd rather say, not my responsibility. Let me make enough money so I can escape it.
Yes. And you know what's crazy is it doesn't have to be like that. You can create organizations, you can create products, you can create services and still have the right values, still have the right purpose, still care about what you're doing fundamentally. You can include more stakeholders than just a shareholder and create value so that people become wealthy. Like you can still build a community of entrepreneurs that are happy, that feel fulfilled, that don't run after an exit to unplug. You can still create a world where you better society and better yourself along the way, where your journey itself can be fun.
Yeah.
It doesn't, like, it's been done for generations and generations. The only difference our I would say generation has is we don't have accountability. We live in a world where you can do and say and be whoever you want to be with no accountability.
So then let me ask this. Where does the accountability come from? Is it from our peers? Is it from media? Is it from the general population? If I'm an entrepreneur today and I say, my goal is not to make as much money as I can, does that not impact my stakeholders or my shareholders? Or can I say, look, my goal as an entrepreneur is to make as much money as I can, but also give back as much as I can?
But I don't see them as a choice. I don't see it as one or the other. Like, I think this is precisely the challenge that we have as a society. Like,
will an investor still give you the same amount of money?
But the interpretation that doing good comes at a cost, is what I think is wrong. Like, it's not true.
I agree.
I don't believe that. Like maybe there aren't, a dime a dozen examples to show you today in the Middle East. That's just specifically we speak about the region, but the belief that making the right decisions, doing good, being proud of your work, participating in society, and it's not about the trophies and the accolades and all that. Like, the belief that that's not going to make money and it's going to come at the cost of success, I believe that to be intrinsically false.
But I also believe that putting your head down and not worrying about the trophies and doing something you love and doing something that has meaning, whether to you or to anybody else, can also give you the same success.
Absolutely. And I think those are two different things, though.
Yeah,
I think
they are.
Today, people are maybe motivated by the wrong things. I think people are not necessarily motivated by just creating shareholder value. They're interested in also creating
their own value,
their own celebrity kind of fulfillment. They want to feel appreciated on a larger scale than our parents used to. I don't think our parents woke up and said, "Oh, I want 4,000 people to like my post."
No,
right? I want 4,000 people to appreciate me or know who I am. No, they just wanted to go home and feel proud of their work.
Yeah,
right?
They wanted to make as much money as they could to feed their family.
Yes, exactly. So
to put their kids to school.
The appreciation came from a very kind of direct relationship, whereas today we seek approval on everything.
Yeah.
And we seek approval in volumes. Right? And so I think people are, one, motivated by kind of that. I think by a false sense of appreciation that comes through kind of digital, likes and all this stuff. So I think there's a misinterpretation of what success is, I think, number one. And then number two, I think people are motivated by making money in a way at no matter the cost, because they're fearful of the world that they live in, and they feel that they've passed the point of no return, and their responsibility, they've passed. Like, they don't necessarily feel responsible for anything anymore, right? So, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just going to make as much money no matter the cost. But, I fundamentally believe, and there's tons of examples about, this in the world, and you can build a business, a very successful business that drives immense shareholder value by just creating an environment that is kind of sane, that's good for you, that's kind of purpose-led, that's right and wrong, not better or worse, right? And doesn't come at the cost of something. That's a misinterpretation.
It's funny you say that. When I started my education, I went to Costa Rica, and I studied at the University for Peace, a United Nations mandated university. And a part of me was driven by wanting to make change in this world by getting into the UN system and becoming a diplomat and changing the world, with policy. And at some point, and I don't know if it was because of, I was in Beirut at the time when they assassinated Walid Eido, a journalist in Lebanon, near our house, when something triggered in my head, and I'm like, you know what? Forget about this whole UN thing. Maybe if I make enough money today, I can get to a point where I have enough money to take care of myself, but I can also then give back. So you do also have, I think, the third
motivation,
which is, let me make enough money
so I can get a seat at the table.
And for me, whether that makes sense or not, is how I see where I am. Because, I'm not a son of a politician. I'm not a son of a guy who had $1 billion business. My father was a doctor, a very good doctor who loved what he did and still does. at 75 and gives everything that he has to see patients and to make them feel good.
Yeah.
I don't have a seat at the table today.
Yeah.
But my motivation to a certain extent is if I can make enough money with the values that I have, with the love that I have, with the empathy that I have, could I not be a relevant member of that table to make change?
And I think that's absolutely true. I think, there's a podcast that we watch. It's called the All In Pod.
Mm-hmm.
David Sachs, Chamath, all those guys. And Chamath always says, enough with your kind of bullshit social warrior crap. You want to change the world? Make enough money so you can sit at the table and you can vote and you can participate and then you can actually move the needle on shit. So I think fundamentally, I don't think anyone would disagree with that. I just think that there are many pieces along the way too.
Yes.
I don't think...
It doesn't mean that when you're on this path, you need to step on the roses.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? I'm saying still be a good person and still, walk with love and operate with love across your path. But I'm saying is that maybe if along the way you can't make the change that you want to make,
then what's the point?
Then maybe when you get to a certain stage, you can.
Yeah.
I don't know. Be the change you want to see. I mean, I hear that in my head a lot.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, well, I can be that from a value standpoint, but I'm not in a place where what I say today will change Lebanese politics or will change where we're heading with climate change, where it will change. But if I get to a place where I have a seat on the table, then maybe I can make some of those influences.
To go back, I think you and me have a shared kind of experience that speaks to this to a certain extent, and I hope we can pull the parallels a little bit. When we were at Karim, we fundamentally created a really good brand.
Yeah,
and it was really like inside out, and it started with the culture, right? It started with we were able to build an organization of people that were really aligned on a values and kind of purpose thing. And I think no matter what anyone says out there, no matter which VC or which analyst or which kind of guru out there, if you were there at that time,
you knew.
And you knew because it was just a feeling. We were able to create an environment that was complete. You knew we were going to be successful because you knew that everybody was aligned, at least on that thing.
We were all on the same page, man.
Yeah.
We were all willing to do whatever we had to do because we believed in the culture. We believed what Karim stood for.
And most importantly, to tie it to our conversation, we were all aligned on a values perspective.
But wasn't it top down to a certain extent?
100%.
And
it had
so,
to be.
And so this goes back to tying it into what we're talking about. If the guys at the seat who are making these decisions had these values, would we live in a better place today?
100%. 100%.
And if we get to that place of leadership or a seat at that table,
100%.
and we have these values to create a culture top down.
Now here's the kicker.
Yeah.
Here's why I'm bringing this in. Is Karim still that?
Oof.
I don't need you to answer and put you on the spot.
No,
because there's a huge weight on that question. But
I don't think it's what it was.
But that's what I mean. So now that they have a seat at the table,
I think that's an interesting conversation because when we were at Karim,
and I'm not suggesting one or the other, but I don't know.
A lot of us genuinely believe that we weren't just creating ride-hailing business.
No, we weren't. It had nothing to do with that.
The ride-hailing business was a side product of what we were building.
Exactly.
We believed it.
We thought that we were building an institution.
We were building an institution. We were impacting people's lives. We were helping, women in Pakistan get to a job, 10 miles away from their village. We were allowing women to drive in Saudi. We were providing accessibility.
Yeah, absolutely.
Beyond just transportation.
Yeah.
And we believed it, and we operated with that I'm changing the world mindset.
Exactly. And even further to that, even internally from a culture perspective, we set the blueprint of how startups need to be built.
To the moon, be of service, be an owner.
Absolutely.
Till today, these are implanted in who I am.
It's our DNA now.
And it's somehow translated into everywhere else that I've moved, or every other project that I'm a part of. Now your question is a little, is that the same in Careem internally today? I don't know. I know that
the question is actually,
or is because of Careem where it's become as a business now that it's no longer a little startup, fighting with the local regulator. It's now at the seat of the table making decisions on how potentially urban planning may change our future. Yeah. Are they in a place where they're actually using those values or sharing those values so that they're trickled down to the rest of the ecosystem? I don't know. I don't.
And I think it's fair to assume that, yes, they still are.
Yes.
Right? I don't think people fundamentally are going to deviate from who they are. I think that maybe it doesn't show
permeate as much as evidently, but also because we're not there to see the day to day.
Absolutely.
But knowing the guys that built it who are still there, I mean, I still speak to them today, and they're still the same people with the same values, Absolutely. With the same dream, still with the belief that what they've built has changed the world. And will continue to.
And it has. And think about the impacts in our lives, and then the impact we've had on 100%. Other people's lives, right? So what we're building, what we're doing, this conversation that we're having, right? Yeah. So, but then let me ask you this. So we arguably participated in the blueprint of kind of building, unicorns and impact-driven organizations in the region. When you look at the ecosystem today, how much of that learning, of that process, of that blueprint has actually permeated into how startups are built today?
Not enough.
Yeah.
And I think maybe a part of it is because maybe we weren't vocal enough about that. Maybe we were not vocal enough about values, about culture. Maybe people just saw that a company from the Middle East, a cool brand, could make it. So you had an influx of random, anybody who was at a corporate job, or anybody in a consultancy job said, oh, look, a bunch of ex-corporates can build a business. We could too. There's a lot of money interested in this space. Let's run into it. And nobody has gone.
All they saw was a $3.1 billion exit.
And nobody has gone and understood how was that built. That wasn't built overnight. When I joined Careem, it was year 3, year 4, and still nobody knew who Careem was. Yeah. Now you have companies after a year, trying to push $1 billion valuations, trying to raise, a couple $100 million. And yeah, you hear the news in the market about how horrible certain corporate culture is and how aggressive it is. And there's this, high intensity, we have to make it today. But we didn't have that at Careem. We didn't have that we have to make it today. We weren't in a rush. To a certain extent, we had.
There was urgency on a day-to-day basis, but I think we weren't living with that pressure. Right?
No,
I think we were the only ones there doing it anyway too. So there wasn't that competitiveness as well. I think that for one, for argument's sake, I think that environment was very different. But I'm just wondering, like these conversations are the conversations we need to have more of, because there's so much that we've learned in terms of what building an institution means.
Do people ask you? When you meet somebody who knows that you were part of building one of the largest startups, do they ask you?
I get really annoyed about my Careem conversations, to be honest with you.
Nobody ever asks me about what it was like. They just know that I was part of Careem, and so therefore
you're a millionaire.
I could be, I have money and I can be a great advisor.
Exactly.
As, part of their business, because it's a nice name to have in their advisory board.
No, I was going to say, yeah, that's exactly what it is.
They don't
when
ask
people find
about
out you're
the details.
From Careem, they say, oh, well, you must, good for you, man. Good for you. And then it's like, oh, can I put your face on my deck?
Do you know what?
But I think the onus is on us too, man. Like I think we don't talk about it enough, and it's never been articulated. Like no one's asked me to that point. No one's asked me really, why was Careem successful? Because You know,
know?
there are many things, that you could say that, great industry, great timing, great problem to solve.
But there were a lot of people.
Great team.
But there were a lot of people who were in that industry at the same time with the same problem to solve that couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I think there was something about the mix and match of right place, right time, but right team, right culture, right mix of team, right characters, right.
Yeah.
I think there's not one specific thing that was the trigger, but it was the culmination of several things that helped build and create what it was that was so successful. Man, till today, even after, entering startups, after Kareem, seeing young teams, you don't have that same energy, that same drive that the Kareem team did, man. You would walk into the office at 2 a.m. and you'd see people at Kareem early days with pizza boxes writing on, the glass and Post-it stickers everywhere. Because you don't have that excitement.
To go back to what we were talking about at the beginning of this conversation, because we weren't doing it for the exit.
No.
We weren't doing it for the fundraise.
No,
we weren't doing it for any of the glory.
Me, I might have told you I didn't even think we'd get an exit.
Me neither. But that's why,
I genuinely loved what I was doing.
And that's it. And that's precisely the difference today in this community. And it's not just this community, it's global, by the way. We're all going after the accolades, the accolades, the achievements, the trophies, the post, the magnet article, the MENA Bites, the step conference,
You know what it is? It just triggered to me. It was real.
Yeah.
And that's the difference. It was actually real. If you asked me at Kareem to go do a video, to wear a blue sequence outfit and stand in the middle of Beirut suits on a microphone, or to dance in a happiness video, or to get on a chair and get pushed around the office.
You don't have to ask.
We all did it, no matter what our roles were. CEO, head of BD, VP marketing. I don't know who you were. I don't care who you were in Kareem.
You did it.
You did it. It's interesting because I was talking to a couple of startup kids the other day who were building a business. And I'm like, and they're like, we don't have enough money to shoot videos. I'm like, why don't you take your phone
and go shoot
videos? And one of them said, no, man, I'm the CEO. I'm not going to be in the video. Ego, image.
Oh, it's image. That's the thing. We're running after the wrong.
But it's linked to ego.
Crazy, man.
And the beautiful thing about Kareem was it was real. There was no ego. There was, you know what, guys? You need me in the video? Is my hair all right? Let's do it. I'm ready. I don't need to rehearse. Let's go in. Let's be raw, real. And I think people connected with that. And I think today, what most businesses are not doing is raw and real. And that's what's missing from the startup ecosystem. And the ones that are, maybe there are a few, are the ones that are going to be successful.
Yeah, it's not a blanket statement. I think we still see lots of organizations, lots of brands that do have that in them. It's not in a, like, I don't want us to set the tone, but I think it's absolutely that, man. It's like, we were all in it. We were a team. We were like, and we knew we were going to be successful. We didn't know what the success was, by the way. Like, I never in my wildest dreams did I think we would have an exit, or we would, initially we all thought we'd go public, right? That was kind of the initial thing.
Yeah.
And we didn't really think anything, like we'd even discuss it.
No.
It was never something that, like, how much do you think we're going to be worth? We never even discussed it.
No, and then
today it was never a conversation.
No, and today you meet startups one
all
month
about
in,
valuation,
and all about valuation and our exit strategy.
Yeah,
it's not real.
And so what's changed
with me?
No,
with the world?
Yeah, is it the social media world? Is it?
Of course.
Yeah,
it's all about image.
Yeah,
it's all about what others see, what you want them to see. It's about perception. Perception is reality. We'll give them a perception that makes them X, Y, and Z. Let's look sexier. Let's look wealthier. Let's look healthier. Let's look.
And so what's the message to entrepreneurs then? Keep your head down. Focus on what matters. That simple.
Don't be oblivious to your surrounding, because I think sometimes if you put your head down, you may walk into a wall. I think tread carefully, but don't be so obsessed by everything else around you. Don't be obsessed by your competition. Don't be obsessed by your peers. Don't be obsessed by your friends. Don't be obsessed by, everybody telling you that what you're doing is crazy, or don't be obsessed by image. Focus on what really matters And if you're solving for a problem that has value, you're going to be successful. I think there's also this fake it to make it that you hear a lot now in entrepreneurship. Fake it until you make it. Guess what, guys?
Doesn't work.
Doesn't work. And 99% of people don't make it. So faking it to make it doesn't always work.
But I think like one piece that the whole point of this conversation, like why we're having this conversation, is
be real.
Those that have experience, that have lived through things, they need to share the experience. Like we need to talk about it.
You know,
like as many things as we might have been good at Kareem or Rocket Internet or Sweetheart Kitchen or whichever company out there, like having those conversations, I think is really, really important so that we develop a society that we can live in.
Yeah.
Not want to run away from. And fundamentally, like your journey, what you went through last couple of years, what I'm going through now with Duck Life and No Bueno and stuff. One thing I hope I'm able to learn from and change is tell people the ups and downs. Show them the reality. Not just paint this glorified picture of this crazy entrepreneur.
I think that's the right way. And I try to do it myself. You know, the last piece I wrote for Entrepreneur Magazine was about my journey, was about my vulnerability, was about struggling and burnout and, you know, what I did to try and get myself out of that. And I do agree that sharing is important, but people also need to be willing to listen.
Yeah.
And I think that's where sometimes the gap is. Maybe you're right. Maybe we need to be more vocal. Maybe we need to keep talking. And maybe if people don't listen today, they'll listen tomorrow. Maybe people will wake up and say, I connect with that. I'm going through the same thing. You know what? I take what he's saying and I agree with it. And I want to change the way I do things.
So then let's have you on in a year and let's make sure you and me have something to share that
man,
we've been telling people.
For sure.
We've been talking for an hour.
Oh.
All right, man. I think this is where we wrap up, dude. All good, dude. That's the whole point. Thanks for coming on, dude.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me.
All right, talk to you in a year. Ciao.